This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Thank you for being with us today on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Are you a space geek at all, Rob? We don't know all your intricacies yet, all your things that you have interest in. Do you like watching the rockets blast off from Cape Canaveral?
I do like them launching, but I don't pay attention until they're launching. Okay.
Well, there's going to be one launching today. The Boeing Starliner is scheduled to try to lift off today from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. It's scheduled to go up at 9:52, Jeff. Okay, so Jeff and I kind of follow that stuff. Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams are set to go aboard this thing. Would that be something you would ever have interest in? No. Okay.
No. If I had enough money to be one of those guys buying a ticket on a spacecraft, I would be doing other things.
You would be doing other things.
Yeah, I would be doing other things with my money.
My feeling is if you had the money to be able to do that, then you would be able to do other things.
Now, if I had to choose between a space ride and a submarine ride to the Titanic, I might go space. If they said, here's $5 million, you could do one or the other, I don't think I'd want to get down in the water.
I wouldn't have gone down on the most recent one that imploded. That just looked cheap.
Yeah,
I would have seen that and been like, I'm going to go ahead and skip this trip, thanks. I would go in a professional submarine that has...
Would you?
There's another one going down.
Oh, I'm sure there's 100 of them going down.
Yeah.
There's another one going down to the Titanic?
Sure.
A better built one?
Yeah, prove that it can be done, I guess, yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
They're not using Xbox controllers as the...
Of course, we got guys. We got a man and a woman going up into space today that is going up on a Boeing. It's not gone swimmingly here lately for Boeing. Make sure the door
closes. That's all.
Yeah.
Once the door closes, I think you're fine.
Yeah, and make sure that there's no leaks. They had a little bit of a leak, but they said that they can live with that leak. This is the Boeing Starliner. You know what its primary mission is? Why it's one of the reasons it's going up is because it's testing. It's a new ship. It said, but the other thing is they're taking up a urine processor. Okay, a urine processor to process it for the water recovery system. It sends it downstream to a water processor, which turns it into drinking water.
They have to do that in space? They can't run tests, I guess,
they need one.
They need a new one.
They need a new one.
The ISS.
They need a new one in the International Space Station. Yeah.
The only thing they can't take out of urine anymore is the memory.
Okay.
Man. I mean, there's a lot of things that would probably keep me from being an astronaut.
The only thing they can't take out is the memory.
Yeah.
Everything else they can remove.
Dan in Dallas asks, Chuck, would you want to be in the space capsule or in the control center? Man, I not only want to be in the space capsule, I want to be the commander.
Of course.
I want to.
Yeah, you want to push all the buttons.
I want to walk on the moon. I just think that would be the nuts, right? Well, we'll see.
Well, that's not where they're going.
I know they're not going there. They're just going to the International Space Station. I say just.
They're going to the garage, basically. They're going to go up. They're going to go out and hang out with some people and come back.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any opinion, Rob, on this baseball gambling situation? You have a player banned yesterday. And look, I don't care if he's on the injured list or not. It's in probably every language possible. And these guys are told in every language, including their native language, don't gamble, because if you gamble, you get banned permanently. We have a rule against that. And this guy did.
Yeah.
Do you have any issue with baseball banning him permanently?
No. I am a sports gambler. I like to gamble on sports. why can't these guys just do NBA bets or NFL bets or anything else? Bet on anything else.
Well, some of them did get in trouble for that.
Right.
And they got a year ban as opposed to the lifetime.
Yes. And I guess if you're on the apps, you do it. But if I had one clause in my contract, I could find a way to not do that one thing. I think. Basically.
I don't know, man. I just think you risk hurting the integrity of the game by allowing the gambling. Now, that having been said, all of these sports, which used to view gambling as a pariah, to the point where, in my youth, Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle were basically banned from baseball association with clubs for essentially being doormen at a Las Vegas casino. Okay, just paid to shake hands and kiss babies, and now they've completely gone the other direction to where the A's are building a fabulous new stadium at some point in time in Las Vegas. You've got a NFL franchise in Las Vegas and an NHL franchise in Las Vegas. And it used to be viewed as, Las Vegas was no man's land as far as professional sports teams. Like, don't even go to Vegas. And now they're fully embracing it. And why is it? It's because of the money.
There are sports books in 30 states now?
I think I heard Jamie and Choice talking about this yesterday. I think Choice said 38.
38 states now do sports gambling. And a lot of those coincide with Major League Baseball and NBA, and there was some talk that either the NBA or the NFL were going to put kiosks at stadiums.
Yeah, the Cubs have them,
and you're gonna have, ESPN in cahoots with MGM or whoever they're in cahoots with. You've got the ESPN book now, ESPN Bet. You can look at plays, and I'm assuming if you're in one of these states, you can make plays through ESPN.
You have in-game gambling. It's hypocritical for the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA to take all this money and then tell the players you can't bet. But I get it. You're trying to protect the integrity of the game, but man, it's awful close relationship now for the sports franchises and the gamblers. 6:40 this morning here on the Morning Drive.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is June the 5th, 2024. Here is Jeff McGuire.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to start in 1948. Because Phillies' Richie Ashburn sets a National League rookie consecutive hitting streak of 23 games.
Wow.
1955, New York Yankee Mickey Mantle hits a 550-foot home run off of Chicago's Billy Pierce. That's a long way. 1966, Cincinnati Reds' Lee Cardenas, Cardenas hits 4 home runs in a doubleheader. 1977, in the 31st NBA championship, Portland Trail Blazers beat the Philadelphia 76ers 4-2. 1981, Astros' Nolan Ryan passes early win as the all-time walks leader with 1,777. 1986, San Diego Padre Steve Garvey ejected for the first time in his 16-year MLB career for arguing about Atlanta's triple play.
He was and still is a Richard, even worse. Put a P in front of it. He just always was an absolute prick.
Steve, I'm adding the at the end of that going, what the heck is this?
No. Are you a blank or a good guy? He was a prick. Just an absolute prick.
Only got ejected once though.
He was the kind of guy that if you got on first base, you just wanted to punch him. I mean, he presented himself with this perfect life with his wife Cindy and Steve Garvey, and I can still hear Vin Scully against the Chicago Cubs in 1984 when they're playing and Garvey rounding third, and Garvey will score. God, I hated that guy.
2004. Texas Tech scores 10 runs in the final 2 innings to erase a 3-run deficit and cruised to a 14-7 win over Mississippi State in the NCAA Regional Elimination Game. Junior left fielder Michael Mask tied the game with a single to left, and Josh Henley gave Tech its first lead with a squeeze bunt down the third baseline. Cody Fuller and Brady came up through with 2 RBI singles to help push the lead to 12-7.
What year was this?
2004.
2004.
It would not end well in their next game, but
yeah.
2016 in the French Open, Novak Djokovic of Serbia beats Scotsman Andy Murray 3-6, 6-1, 6-2, 6-4 to win his first French title. It's National Gingerbread Day.
You fan of the gingerbread, Rob?
Yeah, I like ginger snaps.
Ginger snaps.
It's a little weird that it's
in June.
Yeah.
That seems like a December
Yeah, it does
kind
seem
of
like
thing.
it, right.
But something that we've discussed on many occasions here, Rob, is sometimes these are done so people will buy gingerbread in the off time,
Yeah.
as opposed to the time that they're always going to buy it.
Yeah, big gingerbread. If people are buying gingerbread already at Christmas, big gingerbread's not gonna force a day. Mm-hmm. They're gonna have it in the off season. Yeah.
I also don't know that I'm buying gingerbread today either.
I'm not turning it down.
No, but I'm not going to go get it just
what
because
about
it's
pumpkin
today.
bread?
I don't have a problem with pumpkin bread, but again, that's more of a fall thing than a summer
banana
thing.
bread.
Love banana bread.
This time of year, I'm thinking like lemon bread or like orange. My mom had this like cake that had like an orange drizzle on it that was like bread. I don't know what it was called, but that's the type of flavors I think in the summer as opposed to in the fall. Happy birthday, Mark Wahlberg, who's 53. Kenny G, 68. Ron Livingston, 57. And Torrey Holt, 48.
Torrey with an I. No, that's Torrey with a Y.
This is Torrey with a Y.
I was thinking Torrey Hunter.
And on this day, shortly after midnight in 1968, Senator Robert Kennedy is shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles after winning the California presidential primary. Immediately after it was announced that he was celebrating with supporters that the country was already to end its frustrations, its fractious divisions, Kennedy was shot several times by 24-year-old Palestinian Sirhan Sirhan. He was pronounced dead a day later on June 6th, 1968.
God, I still remember that. I mean, it's one of the first kind of recollections of, a major news event. I was 7, but I remember that night that Kennedy was. It was late, so it was more the next morning that took place, and of course Martin Luther King had already been assassinated earlier in the year in I believe April, and then Kennedy was shot. And the thing that's amazing about that is the guys that were around him in that kitchen. George Plimpton, the author, sports author, was right there. Rayford Johnson, the decathlon gold medal champion, was in the kitchen. And Rosie Greer was also one of his bodyguards. And Rosie Greer was one of the guys that wrestled the gun away from Sirhan Sirhan, who remains in jail to this day.
Wow.
And there's plenty of controversy about that one, too, as to what transpired there.
Even with all those witnesses, it's very strange. And that's this day in sports history.
All right. All right, time for our secret lucky local winning word here this morning so that you can win just like Nicholas Evans did yesterday. He won $500 from Double T 97.3 and the Home Zone. Your secret lucky local winning word at 6:52 this morning is Braves. Braves, Braves, Braves. Go to doublet97.3.com, enter that in, and then you could win just like Nick did yesterday. And you've got to do that, and you can do that, and we'll give you some money along with the Home Zone, where they make your house a home every single day at 50th and Indiana. And a reminder that on June the 20th, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're going to give away $2,500 at Two Dogs. You going to come out to Two Dogs with us, Rob?
I like Two Dogs.
Okay. I'll even, we'll buy you a beer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there.
You can mingle with the folks and shake hands and extend the right hand of Double T 97.3 Fellowship. Okay. Braves is your secret lucky local winning word this morning. 6:52 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Just kind of continuing that gambling discussion a little bit, how far we've come. So the gold standard back in the day for NFL pregame shows was the NFL Today with Jimmy the Greek, Irv Cross, and Phyllis George. And I saw Brent Musburger when they did the celebration show, and they recreated the set, and it was awesome because they used the correct music, and they had Brent sitting there and talking about the history of the NFL Today. And he talked about how they went to the commissioner and asked about using the odds in the pregame show. And Brent's a gambler, and he's got a gambling business in Las Vegas, and the commissioner shut him down. So they had to come up with creative ways to do that, saying like, if you were thinking who should you root for here, you should root for the Raiders because it kind of looks like they might win by about a touchdown. But it was all very subtle. Right. It was all very subtle. Yeah. And so within the last 40 years, and really within the last 5 to 10, it's become even more and more and more acceptable. And the reason for that is the money to be made by the sports franchises. So to me, it's a bit rich. As much as I want to hold these guys for their integrity about not betting, you give them all these tools, you give them all these apps, you give them all this access, and then the club's taking all this money, and the sports franchises and the league's taking all this money. There's going to have to be some give and take on this, but it is a seedy side of sports. But at the end of the day, follow the money.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Yeah, I mean, over the next 5 years, you're going to have Kansas and Kansas State and Utah and Arizona and Texas Tech and Baylor and TCU all be competitive for Big 12 titles because who else? I mean, that's who you have now. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be OU and like it was for 20 years in the Big 12.
Texas and.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you this. How many teams make the college football playoff out of the Big 12?
In year one, it's hard to say because we haven't seen the 12-team field yet. Certainly you're going to get one. In a dream world, you get three. I would probably lean toward one in year one.
And how many will the SEC get?
Again.
Okay, hang on. We can do this. We can figure because there's a Power 4.
Right.
So they get one there. And then there's a total of 12, and 4 of them into taken, so they'll get 9.
Have they decided the automatic bids? I know there was consternation about that a couple of months ago.
I'm going to stick with 9.
Because there was going to be 6 automatic bids originally.
Okay, you're being very facetious here.
Who runs the committee for this?
Greg Sankey?
ESPN. Who were they in bed with? The SEC and Big Ten. And how many Big Ten teams do we think are going to get that far?
I mean, there are 9 SEC teams in the FPI ahead of the first Big 12 team. There are 4 Big Ten teams ahead of the first Big 12 team.
That's 13.
That's 13. You're going to have a
They do play each other. I mean, there's going to be people that have losses.
Sure.
Right, but their losses don't mean as much as everybody else's loss because it's the SEC, and nobody plays harder than the SEC.
All right, so let me ask you this.
I'm just giving you the arguments you're going to get later.
How many wins will the second Big 12 team need to have in order to make the college football playoff?
11. 10. I mean, I think you're going to have double digits for sure.
Less than two or less losses.
If it's a TCU Kansas State thing, if somebody runs the table and then gets beat in the Big 12 championship, both of those teams will go.
You buy that, Jeff?
No.
Both of those teams would go.
I like the 12-team grouping better. Let's make this clear than the 4, 100%. But I do not trust the people that are in charge of putting it together that won't be like, well, the Big 12 lost Texas and Oklahoma, so it's a down year for the Big 12, and they only need one in. It doesn't matter if you've got what are actually the 2 best teams in college football in the Big 12. Not that I think that's going to happen this year.
Sure.
But if Kansas runs the table, they'll go. If Utah runs the table, they'll go. If Kansas and Utah meet in the Big 12 championship game and Kansas has 1 loss and Utah is undefeated and Kansas beats Utah, Kansas will go as a Big 12 champion.
12-1 Utah not in the playoff. I don't think I believe that.
I was going to ask you this. Here's what I was going to ask you too: is how many Big 12 do you see a Big 12 team getting 10 wins and not making it to the Big 12 championship game
this year?
No.
Yes.
No, because I think 10
so.
wins the Big 12 this year.
Yeah.
Now, can I foresee a future where 10 wins in the Big 12 doesn't get you into the college football playoff? Absolutely, I can.
Who will be the surprise team in the Big 12, Rob?
All right, let's go back to the list here. The surprise team in the Big 12. Outside the top 6, I would go UCF. UCF could be a team that punches up.
Is that a school?
Iowa State. Iowa State could be a surprise.
Will UCF be a school that we regret adding to the Big 12?
No, I don't think so. In what respect?
Do you regret adding TCU?
I mean, after so long, I do because I don't like them. But
right?
No, I don't think so. I think they've been competitive.
Okay.
I think they've grown.
Because I guess here's the thing, I think that they will be. UCF will be a. We already saw it this past year with what they were in basketball and baseball and football to a certain degree. I mean, heck, they should have won that football game here.
Yes.
They should have won that football game here.
Yeah.
They had penalties, that they had a fumble, big fumble. Is that right?
There was a big fumble late.
Fumble late in the game. But they should have won that game. They beat us in baseball. They beat us in basketball. We didn't play them in women's basketball. They probably would have beat us. And they should have beat us in football. And this is year 1. And with where they are, state of Florida, how big a school they are, how much money they have, blah 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 blah. And I think they're a sleeping giant. I think it only gets better for them.
Yeah, and I hope to say the same about Texas Tech because you are putting a lot more into the athletic department now than you were 10 years ago. But yeah, you need to keep pace with these new schools for sure. And TCU has outperformed you. TCU has outperformed you since they've come into the Big 12.
With the exception of men's basketball.
Yes. Yeah.
With the exception of men's basketball.
Hey, there's one school in the NCAA that has won a conference title in football, made an Elite 8 in men's basketball, and made a super regional in baseball in the last 2 years. Do you want to take a stab at who that is?
Is it UCF?
It's Kansas State.
Kansas State.
So there's another Big 12 feather in your cap.
Well, I guess I'd look at it from the standpoint that with the loss of Oklahoma and Texas, you had to add somebody like a UCF. But I just, like, you gave TCU relevance when you added them to the Big 12. You gave Houston relevance when you added them to the Big 12.
But don't you want that in a conference? You want
to a degree, but I mean, but not necessarily in your own state.
Houston, in that respect, yes.
You know, I hated it. I hated adding TCU when we did.
If you get down the line and the ACC rumors are true and they're imploding, I think adding Miami adds a little relevance to UCF, and now you have a foothold in Florida, and I think that makes a lot of sense. UCF alone, take him or leave him.
Are you worried about getting to a point where you have 20 teams in the SEC and 20 teams in the Big Ten, and then it's survival of the fittest between the ACC and the Big 12 in terms of who gets to go and who stays in
No, of the two conferences, the Big 12 is in a much better position.
What I mean is, if the SEC and the Big Ten expand again, and they pick off teams from the Big 12 or the ACC, are you worried about what's left behind?
No, because the next move would be the ACC, and the ACC would be picked off, and then you would get the middle of the pack again, and you'd be the mid conference, because that's kind of what you are. But it's going to be such a compelling conference. Look, 20 teams is too big. I don't like that. 20 teams is too big. You're basically now just having two conferences because you can't play everybody. You're playing everybody on a rotation like the NFL. You have a pod that you're playing. But if you add, let's say, NC State and Virginia Tech or Pitt to this conference, I think that makes you better. And especially if it's Miami. Now, Miami may be in the SEC or the Big Ten conversation in front of the Big 12, but I think that just makes you better and more competitive, and it would be really fun.
Okay. 7:24. We'll have a question of the day from someone not named Jamie because he ain't here today.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3, presented today by someone not named Jamie, is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, gentlemen. In the spirit of the Dallas-Fort Worth area right now, having a World Series champion, an NFL home playoff game, an NBA Finals, and an NHL Western Conference Final. What city and what year in sports would you want to go back and enjoy as a fan? Can't be a team you currently root for.
Okay.
You're going to go join somebody else's fan base.
Okay.
Where are you going? What are you watching?
Okay.
Man, NFL home playoff games did a lot of lifting in that question.
It was, in fact, an NFL home playoff game.
It was, certainly was.
They lost. We don't need to discuss that part, but it was. Imagine being a 12-year-old kid in Dallas right now.
Yeah.
This is the greatest year you've ever had in your life.
Let's see. Boston. Maybe in that stretch where maybe the third iteration of Tom Brady, the middle iteration of Tom Brady, with the big three and the Celtics. The Bruins won a championship in 11, 10. So maybe that run with the Patriots, Celtics, and the Red Sox also. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I would want to.
You'd have to be a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, I could do that.
You'd have to be.
I liked that era of Red Sox players.
Okay. You okay being a Celtics fan in that era?
Yeah, I like Kevin Garnett.
Okay. And then you're okay with the Patriots?
I like winning.
You like winning? Okay.
I like winning.
I mean, that's good. That's a good answer. My immediate thought first was if I could go back to a fan base, because just remembering how rabid the fan base was, I'd go to 1979 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and join the Pirates We Are Family celebration and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Terrible Towel, even though the Terrible Towel was already kind of had its day. But I'd go be a part of that, 4 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Willie Stargell We Are Family 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates.
This is going to sound weird coming from me. I'd go back to the Cubs World Series run.
Okay.
Because you can say, and while the White Sox weren't great that year and the Bears weren't great, the big factor there was the Cubs. But for that fan base to be a part of it from the day one, to go through it as a fan, waiting the 108 years, whatever the heck it was, and I've said this about Chicago probably more than even New York. New York's a basketball town. When it comes down to it, the Yankees are great, and so they're Yankees fans there. But when the Knicks are good, that's the place to be.
You realize they haven't necessarily sniffed a championship since like 19...
But when the Knicks are good, you can't get a seat in Madison Square Garden. It's like when the Lakers are good. LA's a basketball town.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's a baseball town, specifically with the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
They love the Bulls. They love the '85 Bears. They acknowledged that the White Sox existed. They liked the Blackhawks when they won, but when the Cubs win, that place shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a part of that fan base from the beginning of the year and hearing all the stories and being with all the family members that had never seen the Cubs win and grandfathers who hadn't seen the Cubs win, and you grow up with that kind of mentality with one team. That would have been an awesome experience to go through as an actual fan. Now, it doesn't compare across the sports year that Dallas is going, or the Dallas-Fort Worth area is going through right now. But just having that kind of rabid fandom that you could be a part of would be awesome. So that's why I'm going there.
I think that's a really good answer. Because even the other night, I was telling the guys Monday, Rob, for whatever reason, I locked into the rebroadcast of the Cubs-Reds game from Saturday night, Saturday afternoon that went into Sunday early morning. And just the volume of noise from 12,000 fans at Wrigley, with it pouring down rain, the fact that they stayed through pouring down rain, and basically it was a 6-hour ball game by the time it all was said and done. It's impressive. But you're right. It would have been fun to be at Wrigley Field during that summer because it was electric. Yeah.
I mean, watching the tribute Budweiser commercial that they played after the World Series with Harry Carey, in theory, calling it.
Yeah.
I'm not a Cubs fan, and that tears me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be an actual Cubs fan at that time would have been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
To end the drought and everything else, the curse.
Yeah. No. All those things, the curse, the Billy Goat, and the whole deal. And then, man, those people believe that. It's been a long time since I've been to Chicago. I've been to Wrigley a couple of different times, and and then got to go over to Murphy's Bleachers, before the game, maybe even after the game. Have a couple of beers, get a burger, I mean, they got the Cubby Bear right there. I hate that they put up the big scoreboard in right field. So the rooftop people got too greedy.
Yeah,
they got too greedy, and the new Cub ownership said, "Okay, no more rooftop for you. We're going to put up a big video screen in right field." So they hide the Torco sign, which, remember the Torco sign in right field? Whoever knew what Torco was?
Not even sure anybody really knows what Torco is.
Yeah, Torco. They had that big kind of oval-shaped sign there in right field. The only foul ball that I ever got, or the only baseball that I ever got at a baseball game, was at Wrigley Field. We weren't even in the park. It was a batting practice home run that was hit to right field, and the ball was rolling in the street, and I was just shockingly a little bit quicker than one of my buddies. I think his head was pounding less than mine, and I was able to come up with the ball in the streets there at Wrigley Field in the neighborhood. 7:40 this morning here on the Morning Drive. The Boom 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 is next.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Hey, good morning. It is the Morning Drive. It is Wednesday, the day the work gets done. So if you've kind of looking ahead to the weekend a little bit already. Got to make sure that you get in and get after it early on this morning. No jacking around the coffee pot or things like that. Just put your nose to the old grindstone. And that way you can get all the pesky stuff done that you need to get done before you head out, if that's the case for you today. Or maybe just give the man a full 8 hours today. Screw around the water cooler and all that kind of stuff. Good morning with Rob Breaux in for Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you from the First United Bank studio here in downtown Lubbock. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to doublet973.com for that, or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open as well. We'll have the Astros and the Cardinals on the air today at 12:40, 1:10 first pitch. And then the College World Series of Softball at 6:45 tonight, featuring Texas and Oklahoma. Also, we'll have the Rangers and the Tigers tonight on Double T 97.3 as they conclude that series. It's Texas Tech night tonight. Okay, the Alumni Association, the Texas Tech Alumni Association, is going to award Josh Young his Texas Tech ring. That'll be cool. And you get a Josh Young Texas Tech custom cap co-branded, so that's fun. I'm glad that they do that. I don't know that every major league team does that, but I think that's cool that they do that. Kind of include the colleges and get people to come out and watch a ball game and support their school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I would say in Texas it's probably easier because there's so many universities that can conceivably do it.
At one point in time, okay, and this is before the additions of BYU and Arizona State, which will take place July the 1st, along with Colorado, UCF, of course, Cincinnati and West Virginia. But at one point, when it was the traditional Big 12, including Missouri and Nebraska, and A&M, of course, and including Texas, Oklahoma, et cetera, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for every alumni association, it was their biggest concentration of alums outside of their home markets. That included Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Nebraska, Missouri, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Baylor.
That's pretty incredible.
Pretty incredible. I mean, it just kind of goes to show you what a melting pot the Dallas-Fort Worth area is. So anyway, that's tonight. If you're going to the ball game, enjoy. And unfortunately, Josh Young is not going to be playing because he's still on the injured list, and he's had some bad luck with everything. So the good luck for him is he got a World Series ring. He was able to contribute, but man, he just has not been able to stay healthy. So hopefully he'll mend quickly and be ready to go sometime this month or early next month before the All-Star game. Or right, Mike, if Jeff, you were to guess right now, would you say he's an after the All-Star break guy?
I'm still holding out hope it's the end of the month. I still am holding out this month that I'm checking injury reports every single day on him and a bunch of others. Let's make this clear. There's a bunch of Tech players that I am actively looking at every single day, seeing when they're getting activated, because they're all right around this time to come off. Waiting for, rehab starts, waiting for, news on the, we heard Josh getting to swing a bat for the first time like a week and a half ago. He should be, I'm expecting a story very soon about a heavier bat, or that he's getting the next step in that progress. That I'm still hopeful into this month before the All-Star game, but I'm also not pretending that this couldn't be well after the All-Star game.
The All-Star game is... The All-Star weekend is July 13th through the 16th. The game itself is going to be on, is it the 16th? Must be the 16th. And then the futures game is going to be managed by Adrian Beltre and Michael Young. It's too bad. It's too bad for them to be in this situation where he's not going to be, an all-star playing at Globe Life.
I thought you were talking about it's too bad that Adrian Beltre and Michael Young are being the managers of the future team.
No.
Like,
No, that's
what?
pretty awesome.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you're not
it's-
going to have a team high Rangers in the All-Star game like you did last year.
So anyway, that's the case with regard to Josh Young. So hopefully, and maybe here's the problem: is even if he does come back now, he's just going to be an observer of the All-Star game. He's not going to be a participant of the All-Star game.
Nor should he be.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that Josh isn't a future All-Star, but when you miss this much of the season, you shouldn't be an All-Star. Very, very few. Like if Derek Jeter had missed this much of the season and came back, he had enough credit built up that you would still want him in the All-Star game. Josh hasn't gotten that yet.
Yeah. You been to an All-Star game?
I've not.
Is baseball a bucket? Are there any baseball bucket list items for you?
Yeah. I think I would still like to go to a lot of stadiums out there. As far as the All-Star game, this Arlington one probably would have been. But I kind of want to go to, out of town for one. I know that Arlington is out of town for a Lubbockite, but
But
I'd like to go to like St. Louis or
Okay.
like if I've never been to Fenway or Yankee Stadium.
I've not been to Fenway. I've not been to Yankee Stadium. I definitely like to go. I'd definitely like to go to one of those two places.
Yeah,
to see a
those would be
baseball
fun.
game. Yeah, 8:09 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Take your thoughts, comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I've been to two. I've been to Minute Maid when that was in Houston, and I've been to the one in Kansas City in 2012. Went to the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game for that one. So that was a great, cool experience. Both times to go to the All-Star game. All right, it's 8:10. We'll talk Cowboys next. CeeDee Lamb is on the lam right now. He's unavailable, and probably for good reason. 8:10 this morning here on the Morning Drive.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.